Now that we have understood the algorithm behind bubble sorting algorithm, let's go ahead and let's implement the same thing in Python. Okay, for that I have opened the project that I have set up inside the Visual Studio Code now, and I want to place all these sorting files inside a folder called sorting. So I'm creating a folder called sorting, and in this sorting let me create a new file called bubble sort.py. Okay, Python file should have an extension of .py, right? Now let me write the implementation here. So what we will do, we will write a class bubble sort. In this, let's write the function def bubble sort. Okay, it will take values inside a variable called a, and since it is inside the class, the first argument will always be current object's reference. So self we will have to pass, and we have unsorted values inside the variable a. Now, as per our pseudocode that we have written, we will have to run the adjacent element comparison for n number of times, right? Because if we do adjacent comparison for all the elements once, we are getting one sorted value. I mean, we are pushing the values to the end in the sorted format, right? So if we want to sort the entire array, we will have to run the same logic for n number of times, right? For that, I'm running a loop for I in range of, let's say, the outside loop should run from 0 till the number of values we have in the array, which is nothing but length of a. Now the actual adjacent value comparison will happen. So as part of the pseudocode, I mentioned that I will be starting from the index 1 so that I can compare the values at -1th index and the current index, so that later on, based on their values, I can swap them, right? For that, I am defining another loop for j in range of 1 comma length of array. Okay, now we have defined the two loops. As part of the inside loop, we will have to compare the two adjacent values, right? That is here j minus 1th index and jth index. And if the value at j minus 1th index is greater than the value at jth index, we will have to swap it. So how will we do it? We will simply compare. If a of j minus 1 is greater than a of j, okay, if this is the case, the value on j minus 1th index is greater than the value at jth index. So since we are trying to perform the sorting in the ascending order, we will have to swap it. So how will I swap it? Let me define a temp variable in which I am trying to store a of j. Now let's update a of j with a of j minus 1. In the end, I will update a of j minus 1 with temp value, which contains the value of a of j. Okay, this is how we actually implement the bubble sorting algorithm. Now let's, in the end, we have the sorted array in the same variable that we have been given, right? So in the end, let's simply return it, return a. Okay, based on this, I think the statement that I mentioned, it is an in-place sorting algorithm, right? I think you should be able to confirm that, because in the same array that we have been given, based on some comparison and swap logic, we were able to achieve the sorting. Now let's initiate the object and call the bubble sort function and make sure whatever the algorithm is actually sorting the values in the ascending order. For that, let me initiate an object. How will we initiate an object? Let's say the variable b equal to bubble sort. From this, let's try b dot bubble sort, and let's pass some values: 1, 3, minus 20, 50, 55, minus 11. Let's say I want to sort these values. Okay, in the end, let's capture the sorted array inside the value sorted array. Now let's simply try printing it. Print sorted array. Okay, I have an extra parenthesis here. I'm simply removing it. Okay, now let's go to terminal and execute and see if this is actually sorting the values in the ascending order. Open new terminal. Okay, this file is inside this sorting folder, right? So for that we will have to do python 3 the full path of the file, which is sorting. Inside the sorting folder I have this bubble sort. If I run it, do you see the output we have got is -20, -11, 1, 3 and 55. Okay, even if you pass one value, 100 values, we will be getting the sorted array which contains all the values in the ascending order. Okay, just for simplicity, let me show you how will we perform the same operation to sort the values in the descending order. For that, let me just copy this function as is and let me just paste it, and let me just modify the function name to bubble sorting descending order. Okay, if you remember the algorithmic explanation that I gave, I mentioned that whatever the comparison operations that you are doing, if you can do reverse opposite of whatever I mentioned, you will be able to get the descending order sorting. So here the comparison operation that I am doing is, if a of j minus 1, that means j minus 1th index is greater than jth index, then we are swapping, right? If we want to perform the sorting order in the descending order, right, that means that the value on the left should be greater, the value on the right should be smaller. In that case, what we will do, if the j minus 1th value is less than jth value, then we will swap so that the larger value will remain on the left side. For that, I'll simply modify this comparison operation to less than operation. Now what I will do, I'll simply call this function instead of bubble sort. Let me call this bubble sort descending order. Now let me execute the same here. Okay, do you see? I got 55, 3, 1, -11 and -20, which is nothing but the descending order of the values we have passed inside the array. Okay, this is how the bubble sorting is implemented in Python for ascending order or for descending order.